Now what we're going to do is make our batch of CSA. First thing we're going to do is put our goggles on. Next thing we're going to do is put our gloves on. And again, this is where we have a separate mix of pure CSA and sand. If this was a cementol mix, you basically would just have these two combined. What I found is if we put the sand in the bottom of the bucket, it seems to mix a little bit easier. So sand in first. And then as we add our CSA, you want to be careful because this is one that tends to pop up a little bit. If you have a fan or if the breeze is blowing, most of this dust can basically move away. But as we all have access to masks nowadays, if you were in a closed environment, which I don't recommend, or for some reason you felt like you were breathing dust, you could add a mask to minimize your exposure. That's definitely not something you want to be breathing in. So now we have both our sand and CSA in the bucket. We're now going to add our water. You notice is bubbling. Basically, this is the gas bubbles coming out of the sand and the concrete. That's not heat. You'll also see what looks like steam, but again, that's just some more dust. But this is an exothermic reaction, so it does generate heat over time, but it's not that rapid, especially with these cooler conditions. All right, so using a slow speed, you're going to work your way down through that cement layer, and you notice the beginnings of a vortex. So that's really what we want to start. And then we get into our sand layer. And if you keep the axis of the drill paddle in the center of the bucket, it will tend to spin and create that vortex without smacking against the sides. If we hit the sides too hard, it will literally break the bucket, and that's clearly an undesirable situation. So reversing the direction of the drill several times helps to get things mixed up. But you can see that it's a very liquid consistency. And yet the sand that's in there, and it's a relatively fine sand, is staying in solution, and that's key. We want to make sure that that material stays up suspended. All right, so we're going to rinse off our paddle, and now we're ready to add that to the jute.